evening everyone. This is Shivani Agarwal. I am the Assistant Professor in Department of Information Technology in AKGEC Girls Engineering College, Ghaziabad. So today I start my presentation with the topic of software engineering, that is the Sdlc, Software Development Lifecycle Models. So basically, software development lifecycle model is what? Software development lifecycle means we have to develop any software with a systematic approach, with a defined approach, with we have to ensure that we developed a software that is within time, budget and the quality software, and we have to reduce the errors or the correctness of that particular software that we have to build up. So basically, the software development life cycle, we have the life cycle for developing any software, and this particular software have a defined approach that we have to use with the quality concept. So basically, the activities of that particular life cycle is used with the beginning from the to the retirement. So when we start the software, then we have to collect all the requirements, and with the requirements we develop the software with emerging the quantity, the quality, the cost and the time. So we always keep in our mind, then when we have to develop the software, then these key points always in our mind, that this particular software have a high quality software. So basically, when we define the life cycle for developing that particular software, so we have the defined activities, or we have defined the benchmarks, we have the standards for developing that particular software. So why we need the Sdlc for developing any software? Why we use the life cycle model for developing any software? So first is that development of software product in a systematic and a disciplined way. That means we have the approach for developing any software, that is the defined platform, that is the defined steps that we use for developing any particular software. So this is the first major need that we used for developing any software. Second need is that clear understanding. We have always the clear understanding in our mind that how many resource persons are used for developing that particular software. This software is used by the technical customers or the non-technical customers. We define the basic understanding of the requirement of the customer. So basically, these major points are clearly defined in our mind, that how we achieve that particular software for the betterment of the customer. Third need is that each phase define the entry and the exit criteria for every phase. When we define the life cycle, then each phase have the entry point and the exit point. So we know about the entry point and the exit point of that particular phase. So these are the basic needs of the Sdlc, because we required the quality software. We developed the quality software, that software satisfied the customer or complete the all needs of the customer. Now, these are the phases of the Sdlc. First is the RA, that is the requirement analysis, then design, then coding, testing, deployment and the maintenance. So this is the life cycle that we have to use to develop any software. So this is the basic life cycle that we used for developing any particular software, or any model use this particular life cycle, but in the different forms. So requirement means, what is requirement analysis? Requirement analysis means we have to collect or gather all the requirements from the customer side, that what the customer want. So basically, we have to move to the next slide, that is the requirement analysis. So basically, what is the requirement analysis? Requirement analysis means we have to collect the relevant information that the customer wants in that particular software that we have to develop. So basically, we always satisfied the customer, or we always achieve the expectations or fulfill the expectations of the customer that the customer wants. So basically, when we define the requirements, this is the collective requirements or gather the requirement that the user want. So business analyst, project manager are the basic key points that those are used or those are meet with the customer for gathering the requirement that what the customer wants, and how we have to build up that particular project with respect to the customer demands. So these are the basic key points that we always kept in our mind when we define the analysis or when we define the requirement of the customer. So if the requirement is of the customer is not fulfilled, then that particular software is useless for the customer side. So this is the basic, or this is the compulsory component of the Sdlc, that is the requirement analysis. And after, when all the requirements are gathered by the customer from the developer side, so these particular software is a fruitful software with respect to the complete understanding and the clear understanding of the requirements. So this particular phase is known as SRS, or this particular document is known as SRS. SRS means software requirement specifications. So this is the main thing of any software when we have to develop any software. So this is the requirement analysis. Now the second phase of the Sdlc is design. When the first phase is completed, then we comes to the second phase. This is the software design. When the requirements are not completed, then we never design that particular requirement into the prototype form, because design means we develop a prototype that this prototype is defined all the requirements that the user wants. So basically design is what? This is a stage that involves the design of the entire system or all the elements in the these are used the graphical representations that we have to define all the requirements in the graphical way to the customer, that this particular system is fulfill your requirements or not. So basically design are the two major components, that is the low level design and the high level design. So what is high level, what is low level design? High level design means brief description of the project, but this is the description with each module. Suppose we have a project, then this project is divided into a number of modules, and each module have a name and define the brief description of that particular module. This is the HLD. This is known as a high level design. Second thing is that the functionality of every module. So we know about the functionality of every module. Third thing is the relationship between all the modules and the dependency between the modules. Fourth thing is the database that we have to use with respect to that particular software. And the last thing is that which technology we have to use for designing that particular software. So these are the high level designs. Second is the low level design. Low level design means the functionality, the logic of that particular software, the logic of the development of that particular module, the complete interface designing, or the complete detail that which module is connected with that particular module, and which module the second module is connected with the third module. So this is the complete detail of the interfacing between all the modules, and the dependencies, if there is any dependency between one module to the another module or not. So these are the basic of the low level designs. Now the third thing is that coding. When the design is over, then we have to come to the next phase, that is the coding part. So this is the basic step that we have to build up for the software. So when the design is completed, that means we know about the actual requirements of the customer with respect to the prototypes. So we have to develop the software with including the coding part. So this is the third module of the Sdlc. Now the fourth module is the testing. When we develop the software, then this is the basic component. Testing is the major part, because tester never becomes a developer, or say that the developer never becomes a tester, because tester approach is always negative rather than the developer approach, because developer approach is always a positive session as compared to the tester approach. So testing start once the coding is over, so or coding is complete. So modules are released for the testing. So basically in this phase the developed software is tested thoroughly for finding the defects or bugs in the system, so that we have to deliver the quality software to the customer. So this is the major life cycle step of the SDLC, that is a testing. So testing divides into the many steps. That is a unit testing, that is a system testing, that is a integration testing. So basically testing means we have to test the softwares, or we have to find the bugs or defects of the software, so that we have to give a quality software to the customer, that is the bug free software to the customer. So this is the testing part. Now the deployment means when the testing is completed, then we have to easily deploy the software to the customer. This is the main goal that we achieved, that we have to deliver the software to the customer. This is the bug free system, because there is no defect in the system. If any bug comes at the time of the uses of the customer, so this is the useless of the software. So basically when we deliver the software, or when we have to deploy the software, so this is the bug free system, so that the feedback of that particular system is success. So this is the deployment. Now the next phase is the maintenance. Maintenance means that is the basic fundamental step is when we have to deliver the system. After the delivery of the system, the customer is always required some changes after the delivery or in the future. So we have two type of maintenance basically. That first is in the form of the year basis, or in the form of the monthly basis. So when we require the information as a monthly basis, so this is the highly or the costly. But in the year basis maintenance, this is known as AMC's, annual maintenance cost. So this cost is reduced when we take the maintenance from the user side, or we train the customer side person. So the customer side persons always take the maintenance for that particular software. So these are the basic of the maintenance. Now there are the three activities that we have to use in the maintenance part. First is bug fixing, second is upgrade, and third is enhancement. What is bug fixing? Bug fixing means bugs are reported when some scenarios are not tested at all. So these bugs are fixed at the maintenance part. Upgrading means suppose we have to the customer give the new enhancement and the new databases add on with respect to the software. So these are the upgrading the software. Now the enhancement means we add some new features in the software. So this is also completed in the maintenance part. So this is also a maintenance, this is done in the maintenance field. Now these are the models that we used for developing any software, and each and every software is come in the model part, or in developed by the any model. So these are the labels of the models. First is the waterfall model, this is the basic model. Second is the prototype model. Third is spiral model. Fourth is evolutionary development model, and fifth is the iterative enhancement model. So we have to move on with one by one. So first we take the waterfall model. Waterfall model means this is the cascading model. For example, we have to step out from one stair to the another stair. So we have to move down, down, down. So this is known as the waterfall model, the basic concept of the waterfall model. So the waterfall model is the classical model. So this model have the number of phases that we have to initialize as defined in the SDLC. So these all phases comes in the waterfall model, but there are some drawbacks of the waterfall model. These when we have to develop any software, or we have to develop any module, then we don't roll back. So we don't move from the next to the previous. So this is the basic drawback of the waterfall model. So waterfall model means we have a sequential follow up from starting to end, like as a stairs. So these are the basic waterfall model. These are the basic key points of the waterfall model. First is the feasibility study. Feasibility study means we have to judge that this particular software is feasible or not. Suppose one customer came with the developer that I want to develop this particular software. So the developer judge, or the project manager or the business analyst judge that particular software with the feasibility study. Basically, there are three types of feasibilities. First is the economical feasibility, second is technical feasibility, and third is the operational feasibility. So in the technical feasibility, we have to judge that this particular software is feasible with respect to the hardware in the software field. Second is the operational feasibility. This particular software is used for the or feasible with the customers or the not. Third is the economical feasibility. This particular software have beneficial with respect to the cost or not. So this is the feasibility study. We have to study with three types of feasibilities. When these feasibility are completed, then we have to move on with the RA part or the specification part. This is the requirement analysis phase. So in the requirement analysis, we have to gather the information from the customer, or we take all the informations or all the requirements of the customer in a page, and after collecting these requirements, we have to decide which requirement is not feasible with the developer side, which requirement is not feasible with the customer side, or we have to change some requirements. So we have a document named as the SRS after gathering all the requirements with the developer side and the customer side. So this is the report known as the SRS. Design part, when the requirements are completed, then we come with the design phase, and in the design phase we take the detailed analysis of that particular RA, that is the requirement analysis. So we have prototypes that known as the SDD, that is a software detailed design. Now when the design phase is completed, then we have to move on with the coding phase with the unit testing. So we have to implement that code, that design that we have to design in the design phase. So we have to implement that particular phase with the coding part, and with the coding we have to test each and every module with respect to the unit testing. After the unit testing is completed and this results is completely good, then we have to move on with the integration and the system testing. So we integrate all the modules and we have to test all the modules, and if this software is bug free after the integration testing, then we move with the system testing. System testing basically check the performance of the system, that the system is completely useful or feasible or not. Then we have to move on with the maintenance phase. So in the maintenance, we have to check that we have to upgrade the system, we have to add on with the requirements, we have to execute all the parts or not. So these are the maintenance part. So this is the feasibility study that is already discussed, that the feasible with respect to the technical, economical and the operational feasibility. And this is the requirement analysis phase. So the main goal of the requirement analysis is the gathering of all the requirements of the customer by the developer side with respect to the project manager or the business analyst. So we gather all the requirements from the customer side, so that we have to design a report that is known as the SRS. Now the design phase, when the SRS part is completed, then we have to move on with the design phase, and in the design phase we have to define the DFDs, the ER diagrams, the flow chart with respect to the design of that particular document named as the SRS. So this document or these prototypes named as the SDD, that is the software detailed designs. Now the coding and the unit testing part, basically in the coding part we have to implement that particular design that is finalized by the customer. So this design we have to implement in the coding part, and after when the coding is completed, then we have to test each and every module of that particular software. So this particular software is bug free system if each module is tested and each individual module is working completely. So this is the unit testing part. When the unit testing is completed, then we have to come with the system testing or the integration testing. Means we have to collectively test all the unit modules or all the modules and integrate all the modules in a defined way, and we have to test the modules and define if these modules are bug free, then we have to move on with the system testing. And basically system testing define various activities like as alpha, beta and acceptance testing. Alpha testing means we have to test the software with the defined that is performed by the developer side. This is not in the customer side. That means if the customer or some changes are required by the customer, then we have to test the system according to the developer demands. But that is done in the developer side, not in the customer side. But in the alpha testing is done in the customer side. That means the project or the software hand over to the customer and customer check the software at that particular time. So these are the basic system testing. Now the maintenance, that I already covered with the previous slides, that the maintenance means we have to add on some changes, we have to update the software. That is done after completing all the sides of the software, that is the requirement analysis, design, coding, unit testing, integration testing and the system testing. Then we come with the maintenance part. So we want to update the software, we check all the errors, or we want to prevent the software with the risk, so we do the maintenance part. So basically maintenance covers the corrective maintenance, the preventive maintenance and the perfective maintenance and adaptive maintenance. So these all come with the maintenance part. And maintenance we have to do with the single month phase and the whole yearly phase. So basically maintenance comes with the monthly basis or the yearly basis. So these are the problems of the waterfall model. Basically all the requirements we have to define in the beginning of the project. This is the basic difficulty of the waterfall model, that we can't change any requirement of the customer when we have to design the requirement part or the design part. Then we don't change any requirement at the another hand. So this is the basic difficulty of the waterfall model, is that all the requirements we have to define in the beginning of the project. After the requirements are finalized, then we don't have to change any requirements. So this is the model that have the difficulty, that we don't change any requirement when once the requirement is completed or once the requirements are finalized. So this is the not scalable for the large project. This is defined only for the small projects. This is the sequential model. So these are the advantage and disadvantage. Advantage: this is the easy, this is the simple, this is easily understood, and basically the working style of the waterfall model is very easy, and this is used only for the small scale projects. But the disadvantage is that all the requirements accommodate, or all the requirements gathered at the initial phase of the software. So this is the basic difficulty of the waterfall model. So thank you so much for this particular video. So in the next video we have to define the next models of the Sdlc. So thank you so much for this video.